So, good morning. I think we are now dealing with what is quite probably the most predictable filing so far this year. Wayfarer have filed an opposition to Isabela Ferrer's motion for continued sealing. And I think they hit every point I was expecting them to make. So I really enjoyed reading this. I think this is a great opposition response. Let's have a look. Okay. Dear Judge Lyman, on behalf of Wayfarer Studios, so obviously all the Wayfarer parties, we write in response to the non-party Isabela Ferrer's motion to seal excerpts from the transcript of her deposition herein. Miss Ferrer played the role of young Lily Bloom in the film It Ends With Us. In opposing the Wayfarer party's summary judgment motion on a hostile work environment claim and other claims, Plaintiff Blake Lively relied heavily on Miss Ferrer's alleged experiences on the set of the film. Thus, a strong presumption of public access applies to Miss Ferrer's testimony on that subject. And that's what I said. I don't think she can keep the deposition testimony regarding the simulated sex scenes sealed myself, because they are specifically in Blake Lively's complaints. Why they are in Blake Lively's complaints, I have no idea, because Isabela Ferrer is not bringing any claims, or she has not made a complaint at all regarding any kind of harassment or hostile work environment. But Blake Lively it's almost gratuitous that she's put it in her complaint, because she can't bring a claim for someone else. But nonetheless, it is part of the complaint. So when I read her motion, I could not see how Isabela Ferrer could argue to keep this sealed. Okay. Thus, a strong presumption of public access applies to Miss Ferrer's testimony on that subject. Indeed, this court correctly held in its November 26, 2025 order that the presumption of public access is at its peak in the context of dispositive motions. Miss Ferrer, nevertheless, seeks to seal that testimony, stressing that she is a non-party who did not voluntarily choose to become involved in this litigation, and erroneously implying that the Wayfarer parties dragged her into this case in August 2025 when they sought to serve her via alternative means. And that was rubbish. They didn't drag her into it. More accurately, in December 2024, Miss Lively's initial pleadings complained about a scene in the film involving Miss Ferrer's portrayal of young Lily. In March 2025, Miss Lively issued a subpoena to Miss Ferrer to produce documents, which she complied with no pushback. In June 2025, Miss Lively amended her initial disclosures. She served her amended initial disclosures, in which she identified Miss Ferrer as someone with knowledge of matters relevant to Miss Lively's claims of harassment and retaliation. The court may recall that given Miss Ferrer's contention in August 2025 that she had been improperly drawn into litigation, the Wayfarer parties offered to stipulate that none of the parties will use any communication to, from, or concerning Miss Ferrer or any testimony from her in any manner in this action. Miss Lively did not agree to such preclusion or any similar remedy. I mean, who's surprised? We reiterate our proposal. Miss Lively's second amended complaint alleges that certain Wayfarer parties created a hostile work environment in violation of federal and state employment laws by, among other purported incidents, filming a simulated sex scene in which young Lily and her boyfriend, the character Atlas, lose their virginity, which moment Miss Lively acknowledges is referenced in the book on which the film is based. So Yeah, it's definitely in the book. I've read that. And that is not like it's not something that Justin Baldoni just cooked up to, gratuitously add a sex scene. It is in the book, and the scene in the film mirrors the book. It's probably one of the very few scenes that mirrors the book because Blake Lively was not allowed to, was nowhere near the script. So, and she was not acting in the scene. Okay. Furthermore, Ms. Lively's amended initial disclosures state that Ms. Ferrer has information relating to the party's alleged conduct, the sexually discriminating, harassing, and other inappropriate or unwelcome actions, conduct, or comments made during the production of the film, complaints or discussions about the work environment or conduct on the set of the film, the production, editing, cut, and creative process associated with the film, efforts to market or promote the film, publicity surrounding the film, the retaliation campaign alleged by Miss Lively. The motion contends that sealing is appropriate because, according to Ms. Ferrer, her deposition testimony contains sensitive details regarding the filming of intimate sexual scenes and the religious affiliation of another non-party who is not involved in this litigation. However, there are no sensitive details sufficient to overcome the strong presumption of public access to judicial documents at this stage. Miss Ferrer's actions in the simulated sex scene at issue as young Lily are already in public domain because the film was widely distributed. Yeah, and that's it, right? We've all seen the film now. It was one of the highest grossing films of 2024. Moreover, Ms. Ferrer's deposition testimony does not contain any details, let alone non-existent graphic details, about the simulated sex scene in the physical sense. Instead, Ms. Ferrer testified about who was or was not present for rehearsals of the scene, whether she was or was not concerned about anything that occurred during such rehearsals, whether the scene was filmed or not, and her comments to the film's intimacy coordinator following the filming of the scene. Remarkably, after Miss Ferrer completed her work on the film, she expressed her gratitude to Mr. Baldoni, stating that she had an incredible experience and praised him for creating a comfortable, safe space for her. Accordingly, Miss Ferrer cannot legitimately contend that her testimony concerning a scene that Miss Lively squarely placed at issue herein is irrelevant to the court's judicial function on a dispositive motion for summary judgment. Ms. Ferrer's request to seal her testimony concerning the religious affiliation of another non-party is equally unwarranted. The testimony was provided by Ms. Ferrer upon question about the promotion of the film and the participation or non-participation of certain individuals in such events. The exclusion of Mr. Baldoni from promotion of the film, who orchestrated his isolation, the purported reasons for those actions, and the public's negative reaction thereto are all relevant to disproving Miss Lively's claim that the Wayfarer parties engaged in a so-called retaliatory smear campaign against her. We note that the non-party referenced by Miss Ferrer has not moved to seal any portion of his or her own deposition testimony, which included the same topic of religious affiliation. Although Ms. Ferrer claims that she is particularly vulnerable to harassment and misuse of her deposition testimony and at risk of professional harm because she is a working actress, she is not entitled to greater rights than any other fact witness in this case. Furthermore, it is well settled that generalized concerns of adverse publicity and reputational injury, the only potential harms articulated in the letter motion, cannot justify an order sealing a court judicial document. I don't think they could have written this better. I really don't. This is really good. So we'll just have to see what happens. I don't overly trust Lyman like everyone else, but they've really pulled her motion apart, step by step by step. So I don't think there's anything left of it that is reasonable or likely to persuade any judge who isn't Lyman. We've got a few things actually come down today, just to sort of quickly clarify. Wayfarer have opposed Stephanie Jones's motion for leave to amend her complaint. So I will be going through that later, because it's like a 34-page document, so it's not a small document. We've got the opposition from Popcorn Planet to the judge's decision. So like they've now formally filed their reasons for appeal. I've read them. I think they're really good, actually. I do. I really do think they're good. So I will do some separate videos for both of those motions. I'm hoping to keep on top of this. My little one's having her surgery on Monday, so and I'm aware that I've got, what have we got coming? We've got the opposition to these sealing motions. They're all due on the 12th. Obviously, this one has come, very quickly, because the initial motion was so shit. It was easy to pull it apart. But we've got all the oppositions that are all due in by Monday the 12th. So I will deal with them as quickly as I can. But there may be a bit of a delay if they all don't turn up until kind of middle of the night for me on Monday.